The next morning, Draco and his friends woke up later than usual, having overslept. They quickly realized their mistake and frantically scrambled to get ready. "Bloody hell, we're running so late," groaned Draco, his hair disheveled and his face looking tired. His friends were in a similar state, all of them rushing about like headless chickens, trying to look presentable. Draco ran a frustrated hand through his hair, clearly annoyed. "I swear, Goyle's snoring could wake the dead. I barely slept a wink all night," he complained, glaring at Goyle, who looked sheepishly away. His friends, equally sleepy and disheveled, nodded in agreement, their eyes weary and their expressions grumpy. Draco and his friends hurried down the stairs, grabbing their bags and belongings along the way. The whole group was a chaotic mess.
"We look like we just rolled out of bed." "Oh wait, we did," mumbled Sabini, stifling a yawn.
As Draco was hurrying out the door, a nagging thought popped into his mind. The diary. He paused for a moment, his eyes darting back towards the shelf where he had hidden the book the night before. He looked closely, expecting to see the red cover nestled amongst the other books. But much to his surprise and irritation, it was gone. "Damn it, where's the diary?" he muttered under his breath.
His friends, noticing his sudden halt, looked at him curiously. "What's wrong, Malfoy?" Blaise asked, a hint of puzzlement in his voice.
Draco shook his head, trying to downplay his concern. Nothing. I just thought I left something back there. Let's go." He forced himself to turn away from the bookshelf, trying to ignore the nagging feeling in his gut. Draco and his friends walked out of their cabin, attempting to hide their sleep deprivation. They tried their best to appear alert and awake, but their sluggish movements and heavy-lidded eyes told a different story. They stifled yawns, rubbed their tired eyes, and walked with a noticeable lack of energy. Despite their best efforts, it was evident that they had not slept well. As Draco and the rest of the Slytherins gathered around the campsite, their bleary-eyed gazes swept over the other students. Off in the distance, Potter and his friends were visible, their own group looking equally tired. Draco couldn't help but smirk at the sight of them. "Looks like we're not the only ones who overslept," he jested, nudging Blaise with his elbow.
Blaise chuckled groggily, nodding in agreement. "Yeah, everyone seems pretty beat. Wonder if anyone actually slept well last night."
Crabbe and Goyle, still looking half asleep, just groaned, rubbing their eyes and yawning loudly.
Matthew gave a hard shove to Goyle, who was still yawning uncontrollably. "Why are you yawning like that? Didn't sound like you had any trouble sleeping last night."
Goyle flinched at the sudden jab and shrugged sheepishly. "Sorry," he mumbled, his voice thick with sleepiness. "I guess I was snoring pretty loudly."
"Good to see you all made it!" His words were met with tired groans and half-hearted waves from the bleary-eyed students. Hagrid, sensing the general exhaustion, chuckled heartily. "Looks like some of you didn't get much sleep last night, eh?"
As Hagrid continued to greet the sleepy-eyed students, Draco muttered under his breath, "Bloody hell, does he have to be so damn loud so early in the morning?" His words were a mix of annoyance and fatigue, his usually sharp features looking even more tired than usual.
Tom leaned in and whispered, "Will you shush for 1 second?"
Draco rolled his eyes, still groggy and irritated, but he begrudgingly fell silent, waiting for the gamekeeper to finish speaking.
Hagrid, noticing the students starting to look a little more awake, continued with a jolly tone. "All right then, y'all. Breakfast is laid out on the picnic tables over there. Make sure to eat up and fill those bellies. We've got a full day ahead of us, full of fun and adventures."
As Draco and his group of friends walked towards the picnic tables, he couldn't help but glance back at the few girls in his house. With a mix of curiosity and intrigue, he briefly studied their features, trying to determine which one could be the mysterious writer of the diary he had discovered the previous night. The girls chattered amongst themselves, completely oblivious to his gaze. As Draco took his seat with his friends, he immediately wrinkled his nose in disgust at the food laid out in front of him. Ugh, what kind of rubbish is this? He muttered under his breath. Burnt toast and porridge. And what the hell is this orange stuff, pumpkin juice? He pushed his plate away, his expression one of pure disdain. His friends, however, just shrugged and dug into their lukewarm breakfast, seemingly less picky than he was. Crab and Goyle, of course, didn't hesitate to dig right in, their appetites seemingly unaffected by the lack of appealing breakfast options. They practically inhaled their food, barely pausing to breathe between bites.
Blaze, on the other hand, seemed to possess a bit more refinement and was poking at his porridge with a look of mild discontent. "This is hardly what I would call a proper breakfast," he muttered.
Draco groaned in dissatisfaction, but eventually resigned himself to the unappetizing food in front of him. He grudgingly started eating, his expression still one of pure distaste. Every bite he took was accompanied by a small grimace, as if the food was the most disgusting thing he'd ever tasted. Draco swallowed another bite of his unappetizing breakfast, his gaze still flickering towards the girls' table. His gaze lingered on each girl, studying their features closely, searching for any hint that would reveal which one had written the diary.
"You're staring at them again," Blaze muttered, his tone a mix of amusement and annoyance. "Can't help but ogle the girls every 5 minutes, can you?"
"I'm just observing, that's all," he replied, attempting to sound nonchalant.
Blaze raised an eyebrow, his smirk widening. "Sure, mate, observing, is that what we're calling it now?"
Draco shot him an irritated gaze. "Shut up. I just have a feeling about one of them."
Blaze, amused by Draco's secretive tone, leaned in curiously. "Alright, so which one?" he asked, his eyes flickering to the girls.
Draco leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a hushed whisper. "Last night I found a diary," he revealed, the words slipping out before he could stop himself.
"A diary? Whose?"
"That's the thing. I don't know for sure who it belongs to," he muttered, his gaze fixed on the girls once more.
Blaze raised an eyebrow, a hint of skepticism in his voice. "So you just found a diary lying around and decided to pick it up, without knowing whose it was?"
Draco bristled at Blaze's doubtful tone. "I didn't just pick it up because I felt like it," he retorted, his eyes narrowing. I wanted to see who the owner was."
Blaze smirked, leaning back in his seat. "And have you figured it out? Or are you still just observing?"
Draco pondered for a moment, his gaze flitting towards Caitlin, then back to the girls' table. "Well, I know Caitlin is her best friend," he mused, his brow furrowed in thought. "So it has to be someone close to her."
Blaze scratched his chin in contemplation, his eyes darting towards the girls' table. Well, Caitlin only ever hangs out with 2 girls, and one of them is already dating Lorenzo, so..." He subtly gestured towards a particular girl sitting with Caitlin, a smirk on his face. "I bet it's her, mate. That's your girl."
Draco's head snapped towards the direction that Blaze had gestured, his eyes widening. Without even realizing it, he began to lean forward, almost standing up from his seat to get a better view.
Tom shot an irritated glance towards Draco, raising his voice slightly. "Oi, Romeo, sit down. You're making it obvious," he said in a hushed tone, gesturing for Draco to cool it.
Draco snapped out of his trance, realizing he had been too obvious with his scrutiny. He quickly sat back down, trying to compose himself. "Shut it, Tom."
Lorenzo finished the last spoonful of his porridge, licking his lips appreciatively. He looked around at the others, noticing the less than enthusiastic expressions. "Well, I thought it wasn't that bad," he remarked, a hint of amusement in his voice.
Blaze snorted, still picking at his untouched porridge. "You must have gotten a different batch, mate. This is bloody inedible."
As the students finished their less than satisfying breakfast, Lorenzo stood up, patting his stomach contentedly. "Oh, well, I'm full," he announced, looking over at the others.
Blaze, still poking at his barely touched porridge, sighed in annoyance. "Lucky you, mate. The rest of us are struggling to stomach this rubbish."
Draco pushed his bowl away, having had enough of the unappetizing breakfast. I'm done pretending to eat," he muttered to Lorenzo. "Let's move before I regret staying another second." Lorenzo chuckled. The two boys began to make their way towards the washing area, trying to ignore the lingering taste of the subpar breakfast in their mouths. As Draco was walking behind Lorenzo, his attention was suddenly caught by Hagrid's booming voice.
Look at that bird! It's stealing the marshmallows again!
Caught up in the commotion, Draco failed to pay attention to his surroundings. He abruptly turned around only to smack into someone else, his unfinished porridge sloshing all over the unfortunate person's head. "Oi, watch it!" Draco exclaimed, annoyance lacing his voice. As realization dawned on Draco, his face turned an embarrassing shade of red. He was confronted with the girl he had been discreetly observing all morning, and she was currently covered in his unfinished porridge. Draco fumbled for words, a mixture of guilt and embarrassment washing over him. I'm so sorry," he stuttered, his usual cool facade replaced by a flustered demeanor. "I wasn't paying attention. I didn't see you." Draco watched as you touched the porridge on your head, noticing the mess he had accidentally caused. He felt a pang of guilt in his chest as he listened to your assurance that everything was all right. As you rushed off, he hesitated for a moment before impulsively following after you. "Hey, wait," he called out, quickening his pace to catch up to you. As Draco hurried to catch up to you, he was suddenly cut off by Caitlin, who dashed past him with a determined look on her face.
"Step back, Draco. I've got it covered," she declared firmly.
Draco paused, taken aback by her forceful interference. He watched as Caitlin rushed towards you, leaving him feeling a mix of confusion and, inexplicably, a twinge of jealousy. Draco let out a heavy sigh as he looked down at his own apparel, now covered in the same sticky porridge he had accidentally spilled on you. He muttered a curse under his breath. "Great, just great," he mumbled, his cheeks still flushed with embarrassment. "Gods, she's gonna hate me after this," he murmured to himself. The realization of the potential consequences of his carelessness starting to hit him, he tried to wipe the porridge from his clothes, but the sticky mess clung stubbornly to the fabric, leaving him looking like a right mess. "Why did I have to be so damn clumsy?" he grumbled. Draco continued to clean the sticky mess from his clothes, muttering under his breath, "This is just great. I've managed to make a complete and total fool of myself, and in front of her, of all people," he muttered, his irritation growing. He cast a quick look over toward Caitlin, noticing her assisting you. A mix of jealousy and shame washed over him, adding to his already agitated state. "Damn it all, this day keeps getting worse and worse."